8 people that the other 7 couldn't make it, and well, I lost the draw. Massachusetts doesn't come out as being a big aquaculture state, but I looked at the publications. We're the 18th as of 2012 in abundance. Our value is 25 million as of 2015, and according to our Department of Agriculture, aquaculture is the 5th largest agricultural commodity. So it's an interesting setup. We have 3 centers which are set up ostensibly to meet the needs of each geographic area, more realistically to enlist political support across congressional districts. The Western region is set up to deal with mom and pop operations, freshwater aquaculture. It also has the biggest single operation, which doesn't touch us much. The Southeast is targeting primarily shellfish dominated by oysters. Oysters, half-shell, gourmet items are our main product. Also on the South Shore, we see people growing hard clams, and to a lesser degree, some modest dabblings with mussels, scallops, and a little bit of razor clams. So bivalves, 95% of the industry is located on the South Shore. On the North Shore, where I'm located, we are dealing with primarily soft-shell clams. We have a functional hatchery. We produced since 2000 41 million clams. These clams have been distributed into 40 different communities in Massachusetts, as well as a half a dozen other states. Is that the 1-minute warning?
Just stand behind you, Joe. Relax.
I feel uncomfortable with that. It was a 2x4.
Just a knife.
Oh, the knife. I get the point. Bad joke.
All right, hurry up, Joe.
Okay, keep moving. Our primary thrust is education, hence the reason I'm here to educate you. Beyond mussels, we also are involved, like Terry has been with aquaponics and many of you. We are doing things a little differently. I had to go back to my physics. We designed our system to run on solar. It works well up until November and into February. We operate a system on 3 amps, which is kind of interesting. We've looked at growing largemouth bass because it can be marketed for $25 a piece as a game fish rather than $1 a pound for a tilapia. And we are looking at leafy greens during the colder part of the year, and during the warmer part of the year, basil and green peppers, hot peppers work best. We are now looking at other crops. In Massachusetts, it's legal to grow things in your basement. Oh.
It's me.
And we're looking at this as, well, we all know what's happening in Washington, so being self-medicated can be good.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Oh, that's it?
I like the self-medication part, yeah.
Okay. For more, you can look at the poster downstairs. With a beer, it looks better.
Yep.
I guess I'm done.
Yeah, thank you.
Ciao.
Well, I'm Larry Dorman. I'm going to talk about our split pond aquaculture, but I have Jessica Simpson on my poster, and she doesn't have a lot of clothes on, so you want to make certain you look at it. Anyway, talking about the split pond verification. Well, verification is actually the education program where we actually put our recommendations to the real world and see if they work, if we're advising these guys correctly or not. And so far they're working. In my study, I have 8 ponds involved in it. And we talk about split pond. You're using about 15% of the pond to grow the fish. About 85% is going to serve as waste treatment. And during the daytime hours when photosynthesis is occurring, that is a large oxygen reservoir you're going to pump water through, and you're going to feed the devil out of the fish. We have 8 ponds stocked at about 8 to 12,000 head per acre. Minimum size stocking is about 7.5 inch for these are hybrid catfish. That's about 120 pounds per thousand, up to around 1/3 of a pound. Our production has gone from 11,000 pounds per acre up to 19,000 pounds per acre, and the maximum amount that you can probably get out of one of these systems about 20,000 pounds per acre, according to Bruni at the University of Missouri, who developed the partition aquaculture system at Clemson. So these things are working quite well. In fact, you can overstock them and actually have more fish than you have oxygen to take care of if you're not careful. So we keep them aerated. We have aeration in our production side of about, the previous talker had mentioned about horsepower per acre. We're running about 13 on up to about 30. So 10 horsepower and about an acre and a half. So we're running very good high irrigation, and these things seem to be working very well. Please view my poster. Thanks.
Thank you, Larry. Duke. Duke.
I'm Bauer Duke. My poster's the best, so make sure you see it. And basically what we're talking about is TOT, teaching of teachers or teaching of trainers. A lot of you have been involved in this sort of thing. I really don't worry about teaching students because that's what the teachers are there for. So we're there to underpin what the teachers are doing and to make sure that they're supported in lots of different ways. So what the poster kind of explains is how we've gone about doing this in Arkansas, and it talks about the demonstrations that we've done for them, the newsletters we're working on, the website we're working on, and we've got we're starting to put links on our website to the things that you're doing, and since I've had an opportunity to see so many things that I had just started to get an idea of what they were, now I've got, I'm a lot my list is getting much bigger, so the links are going to get that list is going to get much larger, so we'll be spreading that information to our instructors. You know, we help them design projects, we go and do visits with them, and what we're trying to do is take that recirculating system that a lot of the agri teachers have and turn it into a hub for STEM. I was doing a workshop one time, and one of the teachers said, "Oh, we're doing STEM. Now we can get funding." So they're really excited about it. We like to call it STEAM because we feel that agriculture puts STEAM into STEM, and sometimes we call it BASED because we try to get the business people involved in it too. We've been working on a system called the Build As You Learn system, and that's outlined on the poster, so I'd encourage you to go look at that. And the last thing I'd like to say about it is a lot of our school systems will have the K to 6, the 7 to 9, and the 10 to 12 campuses actually pretty close to each other in the town. And so if we can convince the teachers to use these RAS systems that they have at the ag section as a field trip destination that's only 2 to 5 minutes away for some of these other kids. They can bring those younger kids in the elementary schools, and then we're trying to get the biology teacher, the chemistry teacher, the physics teacher, the math teacher, and the business teacher to come down and visit those things as well in the high school level. So that's all explained on the poster. I hope you'll visit. Thank you.
Thanks, Bauer. Anita.
Hi, I'm Anita Kelly, and a long time ago I learned that you had to have a hook, and so, no pun intended. Mine is, if you want to see how corporate espionage, magic, and ghost sightings have increased production and profit on a bait fish farm, come to my poster. It's a collaboration between extension and industry to resolve a disappearing golden shiner phenomenon. Hope to see you there.
Wow, that's quick. That's just hard to beat. Yeah, Dennis, I don't know.
I got nothing. So my poster is about the mobile meat processing lab project that we've been working on for the last couple of years. And when you come and visit me at the poster, I'll explain the whole story. But in short, it's one of those things that kind of spurs from something that happened my first year at Del State about 14 years ago, which is kind of scary to think about. But got stuck with a whole bunch of fish at the end of a project. Couldn't process them, and so realized pretty quickly that while we're doing a fairly good job at educating our producers about production technologies, new species, we really lacked processing infrastructure. And you know, when I started talking to my extension colleagues, you know, the poultry specialist, our small goat specialist, you know, those people had the same issue. So we kind of endeavored on this project to see if we couldn't come up with a way to provide some processing infrastructure in the state for our small farmers. So that's that.
Very good.
That's it.
All right, Scott Jones.
Evening, everyone. If you're looking through the titles and the list of authors on this title, you won't find my name anywhere near this thing. Reasonably. Anyway, I'm filling in for Dr. Ranukdas, who is out of town for training at a different meeting. Basically, what this project is looking at is a potentially new solution or new option for treating columnaris, one of the worst warm water diseases plaguing especially channel catfish and a lot of other centrarchids. Mainly this kaolin product, it's a type of clay that is derived from aluminum silicate minerals, and it's commonly used in things like cosmetics, ceramics, paper production, even as a blood clotting agent. So it has quite a few uses in many different industries and many different varieties that are based on what that product is used for. Dr. Beck at the ARS lab in Stuttgart did a study not too long ago and found that this kaolin clay actually has an inhibitory effect on columnaris, impairing its ability to adhere to fish tissues. And he did this study in channel catfish, and what we're doing at UAPB and with some other groups is trying to expand that to centrarchids, largemouth bass, bluegills, red ear sunfish, crappies, to see what else we can use this product for and try to learn more about this product and hopefully get it labeled for a medicated use for aquaculture. So basically we're trying to figure out a dirt cheap option of using clay to treat one of the most economically devastating diseases in warm water aquaculture. So I hope to see you down there.
Thank you, Scott. Rosanna.
Okay. The West is the best, yes. Okay, I'll try to make this quick. So the Western Regional Aquaculture Center serves the 12 western states, and it's a really large area covering marine and freshwater species. The main ones in the western region are rainbow trout, white sturgeon, tilapia, catfish, and Pacific oysters, but there's a lot of other species as well. So a little bit different than some of the other RACs, the way RACs, the Western Regional Aquaculture Center has, every project has, instead of having standalone outreach extension projects, each funded project must include an outreach and extension component. So the target audience has to be identified, activities, outputs, outcomes, as well as there has to be a funded investigator responsible for the outreach component. So on the poster, there's a list of all the currently funded projects. There's about 7 of them, and they cover a number of species and also number of priority areas that have been identified by the industry. And these include things like growing aquaculture, new aquaculture species, opportunities through genetics, innovations in nutrition and diet, and also producing high quality water for shellfish production. So one of the things that as outreach extension people we do is we try to document the impacts of these RAC proposals, what they've had on the industry, and I have a list of them on the poster that you can look at, but some of the highlights are things like the development and adoption of low phosphorus feeds has allowed the Idaho trout industry to continue at high production levels, all the while meeting the stringent effluent standards. Another impact that RAC has had is on the 20 years worth of outreach and research and extension projects have strongly developed the sturgeon, the commercial white sturgeon caviar industry in California and Idaho. In terms of shellfish, and there are some other ones, some of the main ones for shellfish, and Fred will be talking a lot more about this, has been, because he's the one who developed it, there's 3 sanitation and simulation models that are used by the oyster industry, shellfish industry, and shellfish regulators, which have increased the safety of harvested oysters, and has led to also increased revenue by the shellfish growers, and he's going to talk more about that. And also, of course, the RAC projects have supported industry growth which has led to jobs. I mean, there are 2 counties in Washington where shellfish growing are the #1 and #2 employers of the area. So there's more details on that, and also on the some of the highlights of what we've accomplished in the last 4 years. So I hope you come and look at our poster. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. Last and certainly not least, George.
You can probably say least. Frankly, I'm a little offended. I did a poster so I wouldn't have to talk.
Now you got 6 minutes.
I'll go along with that. If you know anything about the bayfish production cycle, oftentimes you start with a dry pond that needs to be filled, and then it becomes the race between the submerged aquatic weeds, which will grow quite nicely in clear water and take up all the nutrients, and then you starve the fish, the fry they go in, and can't harvest what little do grow, or the establishment of a bloom which feeds the fish and shades out everything else. So that's a huge problem in the Arkansas bayfish industry. Flumioxazin, for the aquatic label it's Clipper, for the row crop label it's Valor. It's a fairly new contact herbicide. For row cropping, they actually advertise that if you use it as a pre-emergent in which you can spray it at the recommended rates, if you get a 1/10 of an inch, 1/4 inch of rain, it actually becomes activated, and they call it the flumioxazin barrier. And so the only thing that grows through is if you've drilled in your seed, or if you make the mistake of actually tilling it, then you've ruined that, but everything else is inhibited. There was anecdotal evidence that this would work on a pond. I twisted the arm of a farmer up in Paragould. He sprayed 4 ponds last year, a 20-foot band around an 8-acre pond, which is only 1 acre, but that's the shallow part in which you really have to worry about first. And those 4 ponds, with the exceptions of filamentous algae, did not have problems with weeds, and those ponds did have a history of southern naiad. 4 ponds is not a study make, but it's a good start. And I hit the post?
Very good.
All right.